Nithyananda. Dear the Hindu, I am reaching out to you on behalf of Kailaasa in response to the articles published on your website. The title of this racist article is Paraguay official sacked after signing MOU with Indian fugitive Nithyananda's fictional country. The article was published on the date 1st December 2023 at 10:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. The article is written by and attributed to the Associated Press, Argentina, Buenos Aires. While we acknowledge the vital role the media plays in disseminating information, it is alarming to witness the media's unethical stance and systematic disinformation campaign to misrepresent and inflict further persecution of our already marginalized and persecuted minority indigenous Hindu communities that are represented by Kailaasa. It is unfortunate that this article was published without contacting us. As a prominent media outlet, I am confident that you understand that there are always two sides to the story. We would appreciate it if you would in the future contact us to hear our side prior to publishing such articles. We avail ourselves of this opportunity to set the record straight. We request you to publish our response verbatim. You, by publishing this article, are undeniably responsible for furthering this one-sided disinformation campaign and inciting hate against our persecuted indigenous Hindu community. Disappointingly, this article was published on your website without contacting us. We strongly condemn any such Hindu-phobic, racist lawfare and disinformation systematically inflicted through such articles. Such racist lawfare and disinformation, as history has shown, is a weapon of heinous genocides that the imperial racists had inflicted transnationally for thousands of years, which displaced millions of Hindus, pushing them into generations of homelessness and statelessness. While you may not be the original author and publisher of these articles, you are responsible and accountable for the ramifications of hosting and disseminating disinformation carried through this racist article. Now I will address violation of ethics of journalism in your article. Internationally, it is recognized that ethics of journalism include truth and accuracy, independence, fairness and impartiality, humanity and accountability. Your article does not fall under any of these ethics of journalism. We request these serious violations be immediately addressed by you. Now I will address disinformation against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, related to the false and malicious allegations of rape. These are unproven allegations which are completely false and malicious as part of racist propaganda against Hinduism and Hindu gurus, including the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Why doesn't the racist media clearly state that these allegations are unproven? This is a legal fact. The racist media cannot say that the allegations are proven. It is important to note that despite nearly 15 years of malicious prosecution and vexatious litigation in India, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has never been convicted of any crime. So this is point number one. The allegations are unproven. This is an undeniable legal fact. Second point, these unproven allegations are false and malicious. Here is the proof. More than 10 years ago, regarding the same false allegations of rape, the US judiciary in the United States District Court, Southern District of Ohio, case number 213 CV 00526, the court fined the false victim, the false rape accuser, nearly $500,000 in penalty for making these false and malicious accusations. So what is the conclusion? These false allegations were intended to defame the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We, the people of Kailaasa, have a US court order which clearly establishes that these allegations are false and malicious. This court order also establishes that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is innocent and vindicates the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism from all these false allegations of rape. Third point, Kailaasa is the first nation for Hindus. Kailaasa is created to protect persecuted minority Hindu indigenous communities. However, The racist media is defaming Kailasa, calling it a fake nation and delegitimizing the purpose of Kailasa, furthering the persecution of the already marginalized and persecuted minority indigenous Hindu communities that are represented by Kailasa. If the media cries out for the human rights of others, then why not for us? Where are our human rights? Why is Kailasa being targeted and singled out by the media? Is this not racist? So, on one side, it is a legal fact that the allegations are unproven. On another side, it is established in the US court that the allegations are false and malicious and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is innocent. And then there is an unjustified ongoing attack on Hinduism and Kailasa by the racist media. The racist media is purposely not stating the truth. Will the racist media say Nithyananda is a fugitive of unproven, false and malicious allegations of rape? No, because it doesn't push their racist agenda against Hinduism and it fully exposes the racist media's bias and prejudice. The truth is that these malicious, false allegations and the racist media's prejudiced coverage are a part of the raging lawfare and disinformation propaganda against Hinduism, Hindu minorities and Hindu gurus, including the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Now I will address the matter regarding false, dehumanizing statement of the racist media when they address the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as a fugitive. To highlight a few points contrary to your article, Interpol has rejected any requests to issue any notices for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, based on evidence that was presented to them, clearly establishing that your statements are not true. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, is not a fugitive. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is a persecuted individual whose basic human rights were denied, which is well documented with a comprehensive and voluminous amount of evidence that can be shared with you upon request. Furthermore, the US court order exonerates the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam. We have mentioned this several times and we reiterate the Ohio Federal Court of the United States ruled in favor of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, and fined the false victim nearly $500,000 in penalty. This was in the United States District Court of Southern District of Ohio in case number 213 CV 00526. The omission of US court orders that exonerate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, of the false accusations and at the same time actively spreading disinformation in relating to this clearly illustrate the bias in your media reporting. Now regarding the disinformation about Kailasa and false portrayal of Kailasa as a non-existent nation. Are Taiwan, Kosovo or Palestine a state? Some would say yes and others would say no. What is incontrovertible is that self-determination is a human right, enshrined in many international instruments, including the United Nations Charter. Another incontrovertible human right is the right to freedom of religion. People with a common origin, history, language, culture, customs, or religion can turn into a nation through the awakening of national consciousness. A nation can exist even without a state, as is exemplified by the stateless nations. Citizenship is not always the nationality of a person. The United Nations International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, recognized by 178 nations in its very first article, declares, all peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social and cultural development. These are rights being exercised by all of Kailasa's citizens. Kailasa may be less recognized compared to other states, but that doesn't deny the people of Kailasa from exercising their fundamental human rights and political rights of building diplomatic relations and recognition. Kailasa is a sovereign entity as per international law. Kailasa is a non-violent, humanitarian, services-oriented nation. And we are being hammered and beaten repeatedly and violently with hate speech and disinformation and persecuted by Hindu-phobic, Hindu-mesic and racist forces, denying our right to exist, denying us our right to get recognition and denying us and delegitimizing us of our right to survive. Next, I will address the disinformation against Kailasa, that is the false, defamatory and derogatory claim that Kailasa representatives duped officials, false claims that Kailasa representatives signed a memorandum of understanding or agreement. The document referenced in your news articles and reports was neither a memorandum of understanding nor an agreement, but a proclamation. As it is a proclamation, there is nothing that Kailasa receives in return. Furthermore, even an MOU would have been merely a statement of the possibility of contributions in the future. However, Kailasa, without any vested interests, without anything to gain, without any obligation to contribute, completely selflessly has already contributed 3 million Paraguayan Guaranis worth of medical aid to support the people in the said local community in Paraguay. Kailasa's humanitarian aid is not gathered through taxes as the most established nations would, but is instead raised through hard work and sacrifices of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, and contributions of hard-working individuals of a persecuted minority indigenous community that are inspired to do the same, witnessing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam's relentless sacrifices and unshakable commitment towards this mission. And now regarding the disinformation against Kailasa, false, defamatory and derogatory claim that Kailasa's sister city agreement was a scam. Kailasa is a sovereign entity as per international law. Kailasa is the revival of the ancient enlightened Hindu civilizational nation which is being revived by displaced Hindus from around the world. Kailasa is a recognized international body and has established bilateral relations and has not scammed anyone. Organizations and institutions representing Kailasa have established diplomatic relations with many cities, states, constituencies, municipalities around the world, bridging cultures, encouraging inter-religious dialogue and contributing our Hindu-based humanitarian services and to promote global peace through better understanding of diverse cultures. On November 9, 2023, Kailasa contributed 3 million Paraguayan Guaranis worth of medical aid to support the people of Paraguay. Kailasa is committed to more such contributions. However, it is unfortunate that through Hindu-phobic racist articles, media such as you has derailed these humanitarian services that Kailasa is committed to. You, by hosting and publishing this article, has extraordinarily amplified the systematic persecution. Instead of recognizing these extraordinary contributions, the authors and publishers, including you, by hosting and publishing this article, have put systematic and focused efforts into inflicting deeply harmful disinformation that directly harms the vulnerable community who are beneficiaries of Kailasa's humanitarian aid. We demand a sincere apology for the blatant inaccuracies presented in your articles and publications. A correction or clarification acknowledging the false information and providing accurate details about Kailasa is imperative to rectify the harm caused. Your role as a responsible media entity obliges you to act in the public interest and uphold journalistic integrity. We anticipate your prompt cooperation in setting the record straight and in doing so cease the perpetual contribution of harmful narratives. We are open to further discussions and providing additional information. Thank you for your immediate attention to this matter. We expect a resolute and corrective response. Thank you, Nithyananda.